You need a roof over your head. And I need a wife and a mother for my kids. Come with me, the millionaire told the poor girl. But her answer changed everything. Before we begin the story, leave a comment telling us which city you're watching from. And when we finish, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story, everyone. Emily Parker was dragging 4 clumsy suitcases down the street as the heel on her left shoe crumbled with every step. "Congratulations, Emily," she muttered, tugging the suitcase that kept getting stuck in the cracks of the sidewalk. Fired, evicted, and now almost barefoot. What a success story. The wind flipped her umbrella inside out, splashing more water on her face. She slammed the useless thing shut in frustration. Perfect. Join the team, you traitor umbrella. Cars drove by, splashing waves of dirty water. Emily dodged as best she could, nervously laughing. "All I did was stand up for Sophie," she said to herself, out of breath. The guy yelled at her. I yelled back, and bam, "You're fired, Emily." She mocked her manager's tone. "Oh, sure, because being kind is a crime now." She took a deep breath and adjusted the bags. And to top it off, Mr. Harris thought just 3 little months of late rent was too much. "How dramatic," she mumbled. "He deserves an award, Heartless Landlord of the Year." Her hair stuck to her face, her soaked coat felt heavy, and her hands trembled from the cold. After a few blocks, she spotted the nearest bus shelter. She rushed over and sat on the bench, taking a deep breath. Emily looked at her trembling reflection in the puddle in front of her. Red eyes, smudged mascara, and whatever was left of her dignity, fighting to stay alive. "There you go, girl," she muttered, giving herself a slow clap. "The living image of success." She tried to laugh, but it came out with a sob. And before she knew it, the tears started falling, right along with the rain. On a cold New York night, she finally let her pride go. "Seriously, God," she whispered through sobs. "If this is a test, can I get a break? I've already failed with flying colors." She buried her face in her hands, crying softly, exhausted and alone. Then a bright light appeared. A black car, big, expensive, and completely out of place, slowed down in front of her. Emily barely lifted her head. Great, now comes the kidnapping. The perfect ending to this night. The engine shut off. The tinted window slowly rolled down, revealing a face she recognized. The man from the coffee shop, the quiet customer in a suit with the serious eyes. Richard Lancaster, the millionaire who always looked like he was carved from ice, now standing in the middle of a storm. "Emily Parker?" he asked, his voice deep, calm, and steady. She blinked, confused. "What?" She wiped her face. "Oh, perfect. The millionaire shows up right at the peak of my humiliation. Want a picture for Forbes?" Richard studied her. His expression didn't show pity, but focus. A kind of quiet curiosity. "What are you doing out here, like this?" Emily let out a short, bitter laugh. "What does it look like?" "A casual night stroll, fall to spare collection." He looked at the bags. "You were evicted. Bingo, 3 months behind on rent. And to top it off, I got fired today. I should play the lottery. I'm on a roll." Richard was quiet for a few moments, watching the rain fall. Then he opened the door and stepped out, holding an umbrella. He walked toward her, impeccable, while Emily watched him, suspicious. "You need a roof over your head," he said plainly. Emily raised an eyebrow. "Wow, sharp observation. Sherlock would be proud." He ignored the sarcasm. "And I need a wife and a mother for my kids," he added, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Emily blinked, sure she'd misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" "Come with me," Richard said. "You can live in my house." Emily's eyes widened. Then she burst out laughing. "You've got to be kidding," she pointed at him. "Or you've completely lost it. Seriously, I know a great psych ward. I can recommend an excellent therapist." He kept a straight face. "I'm serious." Sure, because nothing says mental health like offering marriage and children to a wet, broke woman who smells like burnt coffee." Richard took a breath. "I need to appear like a family man to close an international deal. My investors expect stability, a clean image." She blinked, trying to process. "So you want me to marry you for marketing purposes?" "Exactly," he said, unwavering. "And in the meantime, you take care of my kids." "Oh, great." Emily threw up her hands. "It's official. The millionaire has lost his mind." He held her gaze. "I need someone to care for my children. No nanny lasts more than 2 weeks," he continued, unfazed. "They always quit, and I don't have time." Emily stared at him, eyes wide, stunned. "And you looked at me and thought, This woman, soaking wet, broke, and emotionally unstable, is perfect, she replied sarcastically. Richard just gave a small smile. Exactly. Emily blinked, confused. The rain was pouring down. She looked around. The empty street, the soaked bus stop, the heavy suitcases, the cold wind. He started walking away, heading back to the car. Think about it, Miss Parker. Emily watched him turn his back and panic filled her chest. Wait, she shouted, standing up. I accept. She said it without thinking. Richard turned around. I accept, Emily said, her voice trembling. But with one condition. No touching, no kissing, and I take care of the kids my way, no interference. Richard looked at her for a moment and nodded. Deal, Emily sighed. This is definitely going to end badly. He opened the car door for her. Or it might be the best mistake of your life. Emily took a deep breath, grabbed her suitcases, and got in the car. As the car pulled away in the rain, she looked out the window, still in disbelief over what was happening. And that's how, soaked, lost, and about to step into something she didn't understand, Emily Parker took the first step toward what would completely change her life. The car slid through the wet streets of New York, as Emily glanced at Richard from the corner of her eye. He was driving upright, eyes fixed on the road, saying nothing. The silence was so heavy that Emily felt like jumping out of the moving car. She cleared her throat. Nothing. He kept driving as if she were invisible. Emily rolled her eyes and decided to break the ice. So, she began with a nervous smile. Do you always offer marriage contracts to wet strangers, or am I just special? Richard didn't even blink. You were in the right place at the right time. Wow, how romantic, she said, pretending to be moved. I'll save that line for our fake anniversary. He stayed serious, but Emily could have sworn she saw the corner of his mouth twitch. Seriously, though, do you really think this is going to work? She asked, pushing back her wet hair. I can barely cook rice without burning it. And you want me to take care of kids? The kids don't need a chef, Richard replied firmly. They need someone who stays. Emily went quiet for a moment, taking that in. Then she let out a short laugh. Oh, I get it. You want someone desperate enough not to quit. Congratulations, you found the perfect candidate. I literally have nowhere else to go. Richard finally glanced at her. That's exactly why you're ideal. She blinked, unsure if that was a compliment or an insult. You know, Richard, you have a real talent for making people feel both chosen and offended at the same time. He didn't respond. He just kept his eyes on the road. Emily crossed her arms and kept talking to herself. Okay then, let's sum it up. I'm gonna live in your house, pretend to be your wife, take care of kids I've never met, and in return, I get a roof and a paycheck. Basically, I just accepted a job based on emotional qualifications. Richard nodded, serious. That's a fair summary. She shook her head, laughing nervously. My mom always said I made bad decisions. Now I have proof. The car turned onto a wide avenue and the city lights started to fade. Emily frowned. Hey, where are we going? Because if it's somewhere isolated, just letting you know, I've seen a lot of suspense movies and I know how this ends. Richard sighed. We're going to my house. Oh, of course. The mysterious millionaire's house who hires fake wives. Totally normal. He looked at her again, now slightly annoyed. If you want to get out, I'll stop the car. Emily raised her hands in surrender. Relax, boss. I'm just trying to lighten the mood. You're more serious than a funeral. Richard rolled his eyes and pressed the gas a bit more. After a few minutes, the car entered a massive automatic gate. Emily leaned forward, trying to get a better view. And then she saw it. The mansion appeared like a modern-day castle lit up in the night. It was huge, white with massive windows and a garden that looked like a park. Emily's eyes widened and her mouth dropped open. Is this a house or a five-star hotel? She asked, eyes glued to the building. It's my house, Richard replied, parking in front of the entrance. Emily got out of the car, still looking around, completely stunned. Her feet sank slightly into the soft welcome rug. You live here? Alone? With my kids, he corrected, grabbing her suitcases from the trunk. Emily followed Richard to the main door. He unlocked it and opened it, revealing a grand entrance hall with an incredibly high ceiling, a marble staircase, and crystal chandeliers. She stepped in slowly, almost afraid to touch anything. Okay, now I'm sure you're some kind of secret prince. Richard dropped the bags on the floor and took off his jacket. Just a businessman, sure. And I'm just a former waitress who now lives in a palace, totally normal. The silence in the house was almost deafening. Emily looked around, impressed by how clean and organized everything was. "This place is eerily quiet," she said, walking to the center of the hall. "Where are the kids?" She barely finished the sentence when two voices echoed.